whole matrix, this whole thing of duality, and it's all along was to teach us. So I came to understand that it was like a teacher saying like, it was, you did great, like I knew it was challenging for you, for everybody, but at the end, it really is for your own evolution. And then I came to see him as a being of light, so I thought that was really powerful.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll give you a chance to drink some water or something if you need it.
I
But
know.
yeah. But I love that idea because it's like, again, a lot of us get bogged down, especially if this particular life is extra hard or difficult. Like it's like you start to think, okay, who's really running this show? Like what is happening? And I told my mother once, and she was just looking at me like she just really couldn't understand what I was saying. But I was like, Mom, God is the devil. Like I know that sounds crazy, but it's like if God is everything, if Source is everything, it is everything. You can't limit its power. It is everything.
Yeah,
And so you have to understand that it's just wearing different hats in order to or playing different roles to have a certain effect. Like it has. And this is where I kind of there's someone at your door, I think.
I was just
I think the question I was beginning to ask is the last thing you said was about the creator of this universe and how the different challenges, and this kind of aligns with the law of one, the raw material, where they say that it really was where we had several. I mean, who knows? 'Cause remember, time doesn't exist, so it could have been billions of years of life just being where we knew that we're all connected, that we're all just aspects of the one, and
right,
because of that, we kind of it was the whole golden rule wasn't needed because we know that we're hurting each other ourselves and we're hurting each other. So
right.
everything was too good, and because of that, we weren't learning or growing or evolving, and so this was kind of like an experiment into going into the depths of what we are not and experiencing what we are not, which I've heard other people mention as well. I think Darius Wright says that as well, that this realm is about experiencing what we are not, which is, if we're loved, then we're experiencing fear and hate, and God knows there's a lot of that happening. um,
Yes.
so I guess some of the question, and this goes into a question that I had listed here anyway, is that in your mind, in your perspective, what does this mean about Source, God, the creator of all, the energy, whatever, that entity? If it is perfection, and we know that it's infinite. I mean, if you're talking about how advanced you felt these other beings felt, I mean, just imagine the most advanced all put together. Like it just shows you the power of God. Like we can't even
Right.
imagine it, right? We can't imagine it. So is it that our experiences, because apparently it seems like we're feeding it our experiences, are our experiences making it, evolving it, like making it into or expanding it into something more than what it is? Or is it just allowing it to have experiences that it itself could not have because it's not, you know, it can't experience that? So is it just
Yeah.
for the experience? So I think that's one question. And maybe I should just have you answer that question because there's another one that's associated with it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, it would be. It just wants to experience itself in different forms, right? And descend in realms. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it created all these realms and dimensions, so they can experience all these different, experiences from being an animal, a plant, an atom, and a human, and beings with different planets, a sun, a galaxy, a planet. All of these experiences. So I think it just wanted to experience itself in all these different forms. And then, so yeah, definitely that for sure. And and as far as evolving, I think so. I think it keeps evolving. Because even when I was able to see how like we evolve, from atoms to like animals to plants, animals to humans to multidimensional humans to becoming a creator of planets or becoming a planet, a star, a galaxy, a universe, a multiverse, and then becoming the source. Even that, like, then there's like once you become the source, it's like, well, at least it was shown to me briefly, but I just felt like, okay, I just transcended all dimensions and I'm becoming the source. And then it's like, is that it or what? And then it was like, it just kind of said, no, that you can go and explore other sources. And now it's just like, okay, now it's just
Wait,
like,
wait,
okay,
wait, wait. Wait. Okay, so we have to break that down because it's confused me and I'm out there, so I'm sure that's confused other people. You're saying that, so when you're saying you experience being source, is it kind of like when people say they've gone into source? A lot of people have said, not a lot, but some have said it, where they are just one of many beings of light. That's kind of like almost like being in a big mother's womb, just one being of
right.
light that is just made up of this entire big mass that is, source God, like that. So are you saying that you were one of those, you were in it in that respect, or are you saying that you were it?
That was it. Yeah, I
So
was
do you think that the experience that you had, like, do you think that that was what we're consider? Because I mean, is there something above it? When I'm saying source God, I mean like the it of all it's, like the I am, like it's only
yeah.
there's nothing above it. Nothing created it, because it sounds like there's definitely levels, right? This is where you kind of get the idea that both monotheism and polytheism are correct simultaneously because there's levels, right? And there's aspects, and this is one being that's just kind of like multiplying, like through mitosis. So, how in that respect, I can't even imagine like how is there another source?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was shown to me. So it was like, so and then the source, the way it was shown to me was like, it has this, there's like a ball, imagine like a being of light, just a ball of light, that's the source. And then the multiverse, there's all these universes around it. It created all these different parallel universes around it, like small parts of itself, just so that they would create too. And we're in one of those universes. You see what I'm saying? But then, but the source is like kind of like the parent or whatever of all this little of the multiverse. And then so then I kind of like became one with the multiverse, and then I became the source. And then at that point, and again, I didn't. I mean, just fractions, seconds. Like I wouldn't know what that is like, but it just for a second I became the source with the multiverse, and then at that point, I realized, okay, what's next? I don't even know why, but I was like, at that point, it told me you got two options or choices if you want. You can start all over again just for the fun of it, and then become an atom. And then actually, it was really. I'm sharing this with you because I didn't share it before. I so from becoming the source of the multiverse, it showed me you can go back to you can go no, it said you can go and explore yourself now and go and explore other sources, which are other sources with multiverses. So you can go and meet other sources out there. Like there's more sources out there. So I was just like, at that point, I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready to go.
So, okay,
I
this is
just
mind blowing. This is
yeah, this is mind
finally,
blowing.
but
Yeah, no,
so
this is mind blowing.
I think it's the words that we're using, because remember it always comes back to the lexicon. So these are experiences that it's hard to express via like our language. So maybe because when I'm saying source, I mean the source, period. Source one, um,
Yeah,
prime source. So maybe we need to have another word for what this is, because it sounds like it really is levels, like it really is kind of this whole idea of the cell, div dissecting or like dividing into multiples. And it sounds like just like a fractal, like everybody talks about fractals. Clearly, it's something that
right. They're
came
like
from,
fractals.
right? So I'm saying it sounds like each one of these sources with the multiverse is a fractal still, and that there's another one source with a multiverse around it, another
Right.
fractal. When I'm saying source, I mean that whatever contains all of this. Like you can get to that level and say, okay, what's next? There's nothing next.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it can probably get to that point. All I know that because from my experiences, I came to the source. I'm like, that's it. There's nothing beyond the source and the multiverse or the fractions of the multiverse. But then at that point, it was like, no, there's more. There's more out there. There's other sources with
Wow.
multiverses, and at the end,
Okay,
it could be the father of all. There's
that's
within
what I'm
itself
saying.
that.
I'll just leave it at that because, like, wow, like that's it's going to take a while for people to even kind of digest
Yeah,
that.
I think it's gonna take a while. I didn't even want to go. I was like, I don't know if I want to go meet other sources. Like, I don't know. It's just like that's a little too far out. And then it told me,
Yeah.
okay, or you can just go back and do it all over again. Go back to the beginning. And so I chose that option at that point because I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to go meet other sources right now. And then so then I came back and then I became the atom. So I kind of
Mhm.
started again, the cycle, the whole evolution. And then what was fascinating was like being the source of the multiverse was exactly the same thing as being an atom. So I became back and being an atom, and it was the same. It was one and the same.
This
So it
is
was
this is what
pretty
I mean.
powerful.
It's a paradox. It's
It's a
everything seems to be a paradox, and it's like
Yeah,
because like the same way they say within us is a universe. If you're saying that the equivalent of being this being that we would consider source, and again we're gonna play with the words here because I to me I'm now assuming that I don't mean source when I'm saying source. I don't know, but if the equivalent of an atom, a single atom, is this being that is the creator of multiverses, not our universe, but multiple universes, then there really truly could be whole worlds within us.
exactly.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and then
God.
no, yeah, and then I have also become the atom, so in other occasions. So that was the one, and then so as I became the atom, I'll share this with you through your audience too. It was fascinating too. Like I became the center of the atom, the nucleus, and then
Hmm.
I saw all these codes around flying around the atom, like in all this. What is it? 99% is empty space. It's not empty. It's full of
Exactly.
codes. There's all
Yes.
these
So
codes that
the
are like
Matrix,
flying within the
the
atom.
Matrix.
Exactly. The codes
Now,
is like
now,
in the movie The Matrix.
okay, yeah, because I wanted to ask that question because we did kind of brush on this during the pre-interview. Was the codes like numbers, so like the Matrix where the numbers are going back and forth like computer code, or is it like a Dinka? I think I've heard where people say that our universe is created on a Drinka code. It's like the African symbols or something. So I've heard a lot of different things, but in your viewpoint, you saw numbers or you saw
Not
symbols?
numbers. They were more like symbols, more like in the movie The Matrix or in the
Oh wow.
Transformers. Like The Matrix for me, like that's kind of how I saw them.
Okay.
So they were
So
white though.
symbols.
They were like white and they were just flying like thousands of them, like. And then
Wow.
that was like, oh my God, so like this old symbols, flying around
Yeah.
the atom. So I just thought like the way I came to understand it, like I mean, I don't understand it, but the little bit that I came to what I'm saying? And this is the thing, the more experiences you have, the more you don't know anything. It's like because
Thank
all these
you.
experiences have been so far
Yes.
out that I'm like, oh man, the
It,
more I realize that I
it
don't know
gives you
anything.
humility. It gives you humility, and then you
Yeah,
go you
man,
go
like
back
yeah, it,
to
it does. It does. It's just you're
yeah.
like I think at first as I was having the experiences, it was weird because at first I was having the experiences and I was like, I don't think any other human being, or I don't think you can go further than this experiences. They were so far out that I'm like, I think this is as far as any human being can get. But then
Yeah.
I'll have more. And I'm like, no, my God, you gotta be kidding me. And then I'll have more. And then it's like every time it was like until I came to the point where I was like shown that I was graduating from kindergarten. At that point, I was just like, man, I don't know anything, man. The more experiences you
Oh
have,
my
the more I'm like, you
goodness.
know what? I don't know anything. I'm just scratching the surface, right,
Like, where's my
of all
milk
of
and
this.
cookies in my cubby hole, in comparison to where these other beings are?
Yeah, it's
Like a
like you're just
baby,
like
like a little
keep
baby,
it keeps you in a humble space for sure, and it keeps. But at the
Good.
same time, you're like, oh my God, like I don't really. I'm just scratching the surface, right? Because
Yes.
like even like all these codes, I mean, the way I came to understand it with the codes, it's like all it's information. So like, so like if you had a device that could read the codes, like if you were into like some kind of future device that like an MRI that could
Hmm.
scan your codes or your electrons or your atoms or your electromagnetic field, all
Hmm.
your lifetimes would be stored there. Like, so like thoughts, like they can represent thoughts or experiences. I think each one of the
Wow.
symbols. So
Oh yeah, and
so
can you go into that because I mean I'm planning on making a whole video about the importance of thoughts, but if someone has not heard it so far, I just want people to really understand the power of thoughts, the power of thoughts.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I came to understand too, like the thoughts, like, they're they like travel faster than the speed of light. Like the thoughts are like the most powerful thing really in our being, so it's like they can travel to the center of the universe in a second. So and then also within, right? So that's why it's so important that for you to try to have positive thoughts and go after, look at the gratitude, focus on the gratitude and focus on your dreams and all these things, because yeah, your thoughts are, that's what creates your reality as well, right? So if
Now,
if you have negative ones, was
now, have
yeah.
you had this experience? Because I was watching recently someone who had an experience, well, an NDE and an experience like this, very much with a lot of dimensions and quantum jumping and all that kind of stuff. So he mentioned that with every thought that we have, and it's kind of like the movie, I think it's called Sliding Doors. And someone mentioned that that's very much like reality, that with each decision that you make, you can be creating different dimensions, but or different worlds, but also with every thought that you have, that you can be creating different worlds. Did you have any, do you can, does that something that resonate with your experience, or is it kind of like, I don't know?
You mean like every thought creates a different world? Like
Different
I
dimension.
never thought about that,
Okay.
but that's fascinating.
Okay.
I
No, I
mean,
just
I
wanted to
never
see. I
thought
just
about
wanted
it.
to see because a lot of
Yeah,
things you're
no, I
saying,
never.
yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but all I know is that yeah, I mean, your thoughts are what create your reality, right? So
Hmm.
that yeah, their thoughts are extremely powerful. Like like because also we're electromagnetic beings, right? So then if we are thinking about something, you can test it too, like like then things will come your way like that, right? Or things will happen. So that's why it's like, well, focus on the positives, focus on manifestation, whatever you want in your life, or because yeah, I mean, thoughts are very powerful, and also for your state of mind, to be at peace. If you're not
Hmm.
feeling well, and then negative thoughts, then you're not going to be feeling well, and then you're not going to
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's yeah, your thoughts definitely are very, very powerful, and this is what created your reality, right? So then if you
Yeah.
are thinking about all of this stuff, and there's all these levels of consciousness, and then I want to keep evolving, I want to keep ascending, then that's how you're going to be able to ascend, because through the power of your thoughts too. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. It's kind of like putting I'm a thought just came to my mind, but it's like your thoughts. I guess it's kind of like mountain climbing. You know, when they go mountain climbing and they have to put the stick or the spike into the place that they want to go next. The thought is that spike. Like if you want to go up to the top of the mountain and you put your spike up, you don't put it down, you know? So I guess it makes
Right,
sense.
right, right. Yes,
Yeah. All
absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
So I got goosebumps, so I think that helps somebody somewhere. So another question that I had a few that I'm like, so many questions, I'm telling you. This is going to be separate videos probably. But when you were mentioning the creator of this particular universe, is this someone who might have been in the second school, the creation, well, the first school, I think you said, will be one part of one of those, the creator school or the creative school? Or were you talking about the source of the whole multiverse being the creator of this universe?
Okay, so the creator of our universe,
Yeah,
yeah.
who would that? Yeah.
So that's like so yeah, so again, it's like the source is like this, yeah, this light being or light. I mean, the way I saw it, was just like a circle light bulb, but and then the fractals of it divided itself different like fractals, like you said, and then in each one of those universes, then that's the source, our universe. You see what I'm saying? And the source is just kind of experiencing itself through all of them. So it's experiencing all the universes, you know what I'm saying? All the different experiences. So it allows them to create their own laws and matrix and stuff. So we're inside in one of those. So that's kind of like our source is like the universe itself. But then there is the that then there's the source of all the multiverse, which is the father or the mother of all of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so we're in one of them. We're in one of those universes.
And I think that's why it gets so confusing because we're in a space of separation where we have individualism and we have our own personality, our own soul, our own ego. And so that's why it gets confusing because it's like you're saying that as a you or a me, eventually we can go to the school of creation and create planets and this and that and everything. But it also sounds like that would mean that we also could be maybe one of these sources, like one of these these beings who's creating a whole universe, right? So it just sounds
Right.
like there's a lot of, it's very, very much a lot of flexibility and it's all connected. very much
It's all
interconnected.
connected. Yes,
Yes.
it's
Okay.
all
So that
connected.
that would
Mhm.
explain that. So let me see what other question. So the other question I had, very important. So you said you got to see the Book of Earth. Actually, there's two questions. That's what I'm saying. It's so much. I guess the first question I have to ask is what did, because this is a lot of people have different responses to this. What did the Akashic records and the actual each record itself look like to you? Like, did it look like books in the library? Did it look like iPads? Did it look like, what did it look
Mhm.
like?
Yeah, like books that, and then I just kind of like, but they were like made of light and transparent. And then as I opened that book, just images kind of like, it was maybe like an iPod, kind of images came afloat, and then I was able to see the screens of like of like the future of Earth, kind of like a documentary, like it's like,
Okay.
so like like I was able to show like through different screens and stuff. So,
Okay.
and yeah, that's kind of like how, like, just like kind of like
Okay.
books, but like of light.
So you're not the first person to say this. That's why I'm saying this so that it's always good that people understand that this, as amazing as your experience has been, there are people who can co-sign, so there I have heard other people who say that it kind of looks like what you expect it to look like for you, how you would understand
Right,
it.
right, right.
But even in that, there are people who say it looks like books of light. I've heard that before.
Mhm.
Okay. So with the you mentioned the future of Earth, and you're saying, um that a lot of the systems now, and again, you're not the first person at all to say this either, so people better get ready, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a lot of the old systems are going to be falling apart, and kind of like, yay, let's have a party. Great. It sounds like it might be painful, it's going to be stressful, it's going to be a lot of like, things that we have to go through, but it's for the higher good because it's a mess right now. It's an absolute mess.
Yeah, of course.
um okay, so with that said, you said that there was a that third school, where you can be like an advanced humanoid on other planets, right? And this kind of reminds me of the Theoba prophecy, like when, that particular group of aliens that connected with Michelle, and they were saying that they were from the ninth planet of our universe and that they were advanced and humanoid, right? So something
Mhm.
similar to that, I guess. And you also said that in the utopia, that the next level, even after we kind of come together and that we're working in harmony and all that good stuff, is that we would start to, I guess, become advanced, maybe, I guess, physically with all those superpowers. So is that level of advancement on Earth, like when they get to that point, is that the equivalent of that school that you saw, that advanced humanoid school? Is that
Yes,
similar?
exactly. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And
perfect.
again, there's probably levels, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, because
Hmm.
I'm telling you, like, maybe teleportation, telepathy, telekinesis, and a few other could be just the beginning, that then from there you can go up, I don't know, higher, right? And then you can start, I don't know, who knows? Like, even with a humanoid body, you can start creating suns, I don't know. I mean, who knows? It could be like pretty, not like
Hmm.
the Marvel movies. You could get to probably those kind of levels
Yes, yes,
that
and a
it's
lot of
it's
people don't realize that a lot of these movies are kind of channeled, and I just wanted to mention that, very important that we get going in that direction, because I wrote a book ages ago. I think I first finished it in 2008,
Mhm.
and to me, it's the more I learn about reality, I realized it was a channeled work, and I have to keep working on it. I got to start writing the other books in the series. It's called Questmeyer. But one thing that you said, and it brought it to mind because I wasn't going to mention it during this interview, was that you were saying that well, for starters, it's weird. I got the word source. Like I kept hearing the word source one, like the world of all worlds, and that kept coming up. And that's how
Mhm.
I started writing the series. And at that point, I had never heard of anything like this. It didn't make any sense to me, you know. Um, and in that world is a house called the House of Intrigues, and it was the equivalent of Earth. Like when you walk through the door of this White House, you would be in Earth, right? And then you
Yeah.
mentioned in your experience walking through that chamber or that doorway, and then you realizing, oh my God, this was going into our universe. Like you were walking into the universe, whatever. So I
Right.
that was a moment I was like, oh my God, I really think that I was channeling that book. And with that said, a lot of these experiences, seems like people, especially because we're in a time, we're starting to get there where people are paying attention and not thinking everybody's just crazy, and then realizing there's truth to some of this, is that they had to hide it back in the day, otherwise they'd be in an asylum. So I think they hid a
Yeah.
lot of these truths in sci-fi, fantasy, and myths and legends, and that's why to some people right now, they're starting to feel as if, okay, especially with the UFOs and everything, they're like, I feel like our whole world is just going topsy-turvy because they're starting to realize that all the legends, all the fairy tales were really true, and they were just, they
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. They couldn't tell you. You weren't ready yet.
Yeah, you were right. Exactly. And that's the thing with a
You
lot of this information, now it's like because the collective wasn't ready. So
hmm
even now, if you look at, the string theory, quantum entanglement, the parallel universe theory, the simulation theory. I mean,
Yeah,
back in the day, they were very brutal laughed at scientists or, trying to come
yeah.
up with all this. So you can see that how it's like we have to be ready as a collective. And then
hmm
that's when these things start like becoming more the norm, So
Yes.
yeah.
And so I kind of got through a lot of the questions that I had just for that, which I don't know how I did that. But I guess so now I have just a few other ones about that are kind of the normal ones. So you've mentioned this a little bit already anyway, and it sounds like you already had paranormal gifts before your NDE, but did anything become more enhanced, or did you have any additional gifts that came along after your NDE?
I would probably say the out of body experiences and seeing the codes and yeah, and then just understanding the dimensions and kind of and seeing the parallel lives, which before I was just seeing spirits, but so kind of like understanding more the fabric of that we were like multidimensional beings and then another thing too, like I was talking to my girlfriend and uh she's from Sweden. Her name is Linda. And then
hmm
we're talking about all this stuff. And then I was telling her that, as we start connecting to our other selves, that it's possible, and this is really normal in the future. I'm telling this that we will start being able to start connecting to our other selves in those other lifetimes and start bringing different things from those other lifetimes. You see what I'm saying? So that will be
Yes,
like multidimensional manifestation. So, for example, if I just say, okay, in this lifetime I was, I don't know, a king, or I was doing this and that, and so I'm going to start extracting, different energies, abundance, or different gifts. In that lifetime I was a scientist, and so I want to start bringing that gift. So I think that's where we're heading, and that's where I mean I'm like barely, like I say, scratching the surface. So, but I
yes,
think that
yes,
that's ultimately that's where we're evolving to, and the people that are going to start having experiences, it's like start seeing those parallel lives. But then the next day, that first is just like opening your eyes, like, oh, okay,
yes.
now I'm seeing this past
Wake
lives.
up,
Yeah,
wake
look,
up. First, wake up, and
I
then you
mean
can
that's just
start working.
waking up, man. Then
We're
you
gonna get
gotta
everybody awake first, and
Yeah, you gotta. That's just that's what it is to wake up. That's like we've
yes,
barely seen all these parallel lives. There are
yes,
multidimensionality, and then it's like, okay, what do we do? What's next? With that, just opening your eyes. Okay,
yes.
was you got to start working on becoming your other selves or extracting, parts of your higher self from all those other lifetimes. And
And
and and
there's
I
a
think that's how it's gonna be.
no, and there's a movie that came out. I always forget the name of it, but it's Wherever, Wherever, something like that. That movie came out, and it's very much
Exactly.
similar, right?
Everything,
Um,
everywhere, all at once. Mhm.
yes, and I bet you it was probably written some time ago, and they're just like, okay, they're starting to realize they can understand this now. We can put it out there, you know.
Yeah.
But even then, so I'm glad you mentioned this because I actually did have this question. I don't know why it's not listed here, but that was a question that I had. Very important is, and this is something that you can go into again through your website, through your personal, private, sessions and stuff like that. But if you can just give us an idea, is what is the way, like just if there's an easy way to start connecting with those other powers and stuff. Like, I mean, I've heard people say this before, but like, what is an actual way to do this? Like, how would you do this? Is it
I
meditation?
mean,
Is
it
it?
would go back to the basics, man. You gotta pass your ABCs, which is your soul lessons. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's ultimately like first learn your alphabet, before you want to start, so that's like learn the lessons, master the lessons,
master the lessons.
because yeah,
Okay.
because that's the thing, like because also, like in some of my experiences, like I've been able to uh I was in a space where I realized that I could become one with anybody I wanted, like I can kind of basically kind of like a Jedi master, that I could go, let's say my dad, I think of my dad, and I can go inside my dad, and I become him, and I can in a way, I can do whatever I want. You know, I'm him. So I can. That's why the Jedi's were like, that's what the powers they had. They go
Hmm.
inside the people and they control them. You know, they're like, but at the end, it's like, you know, to start having all these abilities, it's like I would never use. You know, you cannot use for you to have this kind of abilities. It
You
has
can't
to
use
be
it for
like
evil.
zero, 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 zero negativity. Like you would
Yes,
never cause
yes,
any harm
yes,
whatsoever
yes.
at all, you know, to anyone, you know. So for us to for us to develop to get to that level, you gotta master the lessons, you know, you gotta have to a point where you let
You,
go of all the fear, you gotta let go of all the anger, you let go of all the judgments, you gotta let go of the attachments, you have, you know, you forgive all of that, you know, you have that
I feel
integrity,
like
the
you're
compassion.
already in my head because the questions that I forgot to ask you, you're just lining them up already. So get out of my head. No, but so that was a question I have because it's like, first of all, it's kind of like channeling. So just FYI, it sounds like that just shows you that this is possible. The same way people are channeling, and I have question marks about that. So I'm not promoting that at all, but that is possible for you to put your consciousness into another being. And there's other people who have had this experience too, where they've been a squirrel, they've been a this, they've been a the tree, they've experienced
Yeah, yeah, I mean too.
their consciousness. And I also, so one of the questions that I had and I forgot to ask was, um, when you go into these beings, because you mentioned this too, that you can become, maybe come, I think you mentioned this, you can come back, or maybe this was another person who had a quantum experience, but you can come back and be like famous people. Is that something that you said, that you can kind of go into famous people or like in history and stuff like that? If that is the case, what happens to that person's consciousness when you're experiencing them? Are you just there like a ride along, like you're kind of like on their back just watching everything? Or are you
Yeah,
pushing their consciousness to the side? Like how would you,
no, you just kind of become one with them.
but you can't
Yeah.
act on their part though. It's kind of like you're just a voyeur. You're viewing, but you're not able to start doing things and enter, because that of course would imply that you could mess with their karma. You could just be like, hey, let
Right.
me.
No, yeah.
So you're okay. So you're not
Yeah, you just
controlling
kind of
them.
go,
You're just
you just
watching.
like you as the passenger in the back, you know?
Okay. You're not
Yeah.
driving. You're not
You're
driving.
not driving.
Okay, okay, okay. So that answers that question.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like I had another one. I think I might have lost it, whatever. But and just I guess maybe keep talking about da, 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 the consciousness, like being able to hmm. Yeah, I think that might have been both questions into one, because I think I was wondering if it moves their consciousness to the side, and hmm, yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. So you're saying that your gifts increased somewhat, and you started to have the out of body experiences. And so, like, can you leave your body just by will, or like, tell
Yeah,
me a little bit about
no,
that.
not really. I'm not there yet either. So I think I'm
Okay.
like barely like crawling in.
Okay, okay, okay. So it's just every now and then, you know.
Yeah, every now and then the experiences happen. And I think mostly it's just spontaneously, you know? So, but
Okay.
yeah, I have not been able to master it to that level that I could, but you know, I can just come by you know, by will. Like I'm not there yet, but one thing I have realized too in this, you know, out of body experiences is that ultimately, once you get to that point where you're like, oh yeah, I could just, you know, come out of my body anytime I want, right? Like right now, and then go somewhere else, astral project. But then once you get to that level, then it's like you get to the level where then you can actually just teleport all your atoms or all your, you know, you can literally teleport everything, like your whole being, like not just the body, the astral soul, your soul, but then you can just
Hmm.
pull all the atoms and then you actually are teleporting. So, but you gotta, yeah, I'm
Wow.
not there yet, but I realize that that's really, it's possible for the people that the masters. I'm sure there's a couple of people out there on Earth. I'm
Oh
not there
yeah.
yet, but you know, that's something you could eventually
Yes,
everybody can
yes.
will be able to
And
do,
it
you know.
and isn't it amazing that like in our current state, like for a lot of people, the goal is just accumulating as much material wealth as you can, even though you can't take it with you, but just accumulate as much, material wealth as you can, kind of taking away from the pie from everybody else. And that's really just it. And it's like there's so many other things that we should be paying attention to. Like, like you said, learning the lessons and advancing and evolution and just being able to do all these different things, mastering our powers that are innate, that we have them, but we just have no idea how to use them. You know what I mean? So there's just so much other things that we could be focusing our attention on that is just amazing that we're not. But I just pulled in that other question that I had. So this is a very important one. So like again, going back to the raw material, the law of one, they say something very similar to what you're saying in regards to not being able to get to those levels where you're creating universes and stuff unless you've mastered the lessons. So, and by saying master the lessons, it's kind of like you chose good over evil, ultimately, right? Because you're not going to use it
Right, right,
for
right.
for negative means, and only because it sounds like only because that is what whoever the source of all sources is. Let's say prime source, whoever prime source is, it chose good over evil. Like that's one of the like it's like okay, this is a
Mhm.
virtue. This is something that we should
Right,
all
right, right.
okay, it's a managerial choice.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so within that book, I don't know if you read it or not, uh, the raw
I haven't
material.
read it. Yeah,
Oh, you
I haven't
should
read it yet.
definitely, definitely,
Yeah, I
definitely.
know, I know, I
But
know.
um, but it says that I guess that they say the sixth dimension, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not like a complete master of this particular work, but um, that around that time, once you get to that level, you cannot go past it if you are still on the negative side, the dark side, or the what they say the service to self path. You cannot go
No, no, no.
past it.
That yeah,
And
that's
you have
because
to,
for me, at the fifth dimension, that you become an ascended master, you
yeah.
all the
So there's
negativities
so
completely vanish. You know.
so it's good for people to understand, and maybe it should even make you feel more safe that, in order to be this creator of universes or of multiverses, that you had to have, you got your PhD, you're a doctor, like
Oh,
you're certified. You're not like they're not just giving any psycho, this power. So, and it
no,
also should
no,
show
no, no, no,
people.
no, no.
Yeah, and she'll also show people that it's like, first off, like finish your lessons, like get to work, and also know that when you take the path, and it's so perfect that I saw an NDE recently on the Jeff Mara wonderful podcast, show where a guy was saying that he knows that he made that switch. Like this is the first time I've ever heard it, and it was so amazing that he said he literally used to be like a reptilian, and he was going all these negative lives, and finally got to a point where he was like, enough is enough. He knew he couldn't get past that, and so now he's gone right back to the beginning. So it's a lot of work, even more. And he's starting now on the path of service to others, a good path, the path of light and, love, etc. And he's making his way again. So I think it's just important that people know that you can feel more secure, that even when, like say for this, in the case of where we are now, the reason why there's so much ugliness and pain in this world is that there's a purpose to it, that it is something that, hopefully, so I'm just saying this so hopefully we signed up for it for starters, and that is to teach us, is to grow us, is to get us to the next level so that eventually we can start creating planets and God knows what else. And that was another beautiful thing about in the a parallel to the story I wrote ages ago with Questmeyer, is that the ultimate, once they get through all the worlds in that particular, and it sounds very similar to reality. Again, I don't know where I got it from. I must have been channeling. But once they get through all the worlds, that their ultimate goal, eventually, this girl who starts off in Brooklyn as a foster care, kid and all that kind of stuff, she's eventually able to create planets. Like that becomes like one of the last books is where she's starting to create planets. And it sounds like that's our reality. That really is something that we can do. That we have, we'll have that power if we go on the right path and we excel and we learn the lessons, we do good, and we treat people right.
Yeah, exactly. It's everything is for the evolution. You know. So first, like like yeah, like mastering the lessons is like learning your ABCs,
Yeah,
and then our multidimensionality. That's like you're already like in kindergarten the stages, right? And then you graduate from the reincarnation, and then you become one with your higher self, and you become an ascended master, and then you can
hmm,
explore yourself as different beings across the
yeah,
universe, and then you can start becoming a creator. All these experiences
yeah,
that's so magical that we have the ability to evolve. But yeah,
yeah,
all souls long to evolve, and all souls evolve. Like there is no exception. Like
yeah,
even someone that must have done horrific things in the past, it doesn't matter. They'll bounce their energy. Everybody evolves. Everybody.
yeah.
So
And I
yeah,
wanted to, I mean, we're getting close to the end of the questions here, but I did want to interject something that kind of has just been a thought of mine, and listening to your story is, in your experience, is bringing it out even more so. Because I used to, I'm probably too empathic to some extent, so I have to kind of cut it off. But at one point, when I started to understand that we are all one, believe in the law of one, I was like, I would sit there and just kind of cry thinking about God or source being by itself. I'm like, oh my God, it must be so lonely not having anybody, because I'm just a weirdo. I would just sit there crying, like literally just crying my eyes out, like, what's wrong with you? but eventually I realized, but that's why we're here. Like that's why it started to create, and
Exactly.
it's little aspects so that they can experience that. And I've started to start thinking kind of like a download or just a thought that I have, even more so because it's like if the source itself is perfect, whatever, then a lot of this is not really necessary. This whole everything, look, everything is not necessary. But it's kind of it may be entertaining, like you said, you can experience. So by entertaining, I mean it's experience or for experience. But also, I think a lot of people mention that a lot of worlds are how things were prior to this experiment, where they're just beings that just do the will, kind of like what people think angels are, do the will of the source. They don't really have free will. That free will is only in certain places that this is allowed. I feel like the free will project, I'm going to just name it that. I feel like the free will project might be this being, God, source, prime, its way of trying to create a family in some way. Because I feel like family is very important to it, just looking at how what it creates and how it kind of is moving. That maybe it wants to have a family, but you can't have a family if you make, and if you're a parent, this, I'm not a parent, but I just know that you don't want to force your children to be like little robots. You want them to be their own beings and have their own, etc. So I feel like the free will, and then also taking its aspect, these parts of itself, so we kind of are its children in some ways, and allowing it to start with a blank slate where it doesn't know all the choices that it made. It doesn't know that good is good and love is good, and and choose this over that, etc. So allow it to start where it's just completely a complete blank slate and just goes through all these lessons and lives and worlds and experiences in schools until it becomes its own entity, even within itself still, but its own entity, so that it's creating a family. It's creating beings that can interact with it. It's not just robots, not like a Pinocchio or a real boy, So I kind of feel, I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that's just something that I've just been collecting a thought of as I've been watching and experiencing these NDEs. But so a question to you. So what do you think is like the key takeaway of your NDE experience for you? Like what is it something that you, out of all that you experience, is, what is the key takeaway for you?
Yeah, I would just say that, to know that there were eternal beings, we're multidimensional beings, and that everything is, for our soul evolution. All life experiences are really to teach us. So if we see life from that perspective, then it's like, okay, let me decode my life experiences and let me understand that I have to learn these lessons. So as I learn these lessons, as I master the lessons, then there's higher levels of consciousness of experiences, yeah, the different
Hmm.
realms, different dimensions that we can evolve. So I think that's just fascinating for me that, like, oh yeah, man, it's not like this is it, this is the people had a difficult lifetime, like, oh my God, what a, then this is it. No way, man. There's like, man, like there's other realms, and there's, you keep coming back, and
Yeah,
you keep evolving, and you keep ascending, and it's all
yeah,
to polish your soul as like a diamond, polishing all the lessons, and then there's way more lessons and way more experiences to come. I think
yeah.
that would be the message, kind of like in a nutshell, that we want people to know for sure. So
Perfect,
yeah.
perfect. Okay. And are there any aspects of your NDE that you're still puzzling over, or any kind of like shadows or places where you're just like, what is that? What was that? Or what was the point of this?
Not really. I think that
Okay.
was, I've only, maybe I needed to go check out more places. I only went to the
Hmm.
live review, and only the Akashic records and the dimensions.
Hmm.
But I know too that there's like classrooms, and there's like, I came to understand, like, there's kind of like seminars that you can take up there and stuff like
What?
that.
Do they have Zoom? Do they have Zoom?
Yeah, you can go take seminars with some of the senior masters, and then you go to your classrooms, and you review your lives, and
Hmm.
sell contracts. So I mean, I experienced. I mean, I'm sure there's more. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
everything. Like,
yeah.
I think, like I say, the more I know, the more I know I don't know anything. So it's like, I think
Yeah.
there's way more stuff for sure. But
Mm.
I'm coming to understand that, like, I think at the end it's like to understand that we're multidimensional beings. I think that's going to be the next evolution of our consciousness, and the more people are going to start having these experiences, then the more it's like, oh yeah, well, of course. Like I saw that reincarnation is going to be proven by quantum mechanics soon. Well, I don't know when, but in the next 20, 30 years, like,
Wow,
so
okay.
that's going to be a huge shift in consciousness for the collective. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, reincarnation is real. Like,
Oh, by the way, hey guys, breaking news.
yeah, 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 exactly. Like the earth is
CNN.
round, so that'll be the new norm. So then after that is like, but again, that's like just okay, opening our eyes, like, okay, then
Yeah,
let's understand how quantum mechanics works with quantum entanglement with this other lifetimes and the multiverse, universe theory, and of course, it'll be little by little that, and more people will start being awakened, and
yeah,
we'll be sharing more of this information to prepare the world for that,
yes,
for
yes.
our higher levels of awareness that we're multidimensional. So yeah,
Now I want to ask you another question because I know I'm trying to keep this. It's going to be probably two or three videos, but it's just so many questions.
yeah, I know.
But I almost feel like I want to ask you a question that's going to be a yes and no that should be more than a yes and no, only because I want people to like really kind of. I feel like we can make another video of this, but have you, like most under NDEers, have you had any experiences that you would consider to be with like UFO or multidimensionals or I mean, of course, the council fits into that lining, but
Right,
I'm saying
right.
like, would you consider to be like aliens or that type thing in a ship or something like that? Have you
Yeah,
had experience?
I mean, the only way I've experienced that is when I became the universe. When I became the universe itself, I could feel all these beings, aliens, inside me or across the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And I could feel like and I could feel they're communicating, and they're all evolving, but they were all inside me. But I
Wow.
felt all their presence, and yeah, there's trillions and trillions of different beings.
As above, so below is such a real, true, universal statement. It really is true because if you think about it, like everything that you're saying is always a being inside. Like it's the pregnant woman. There's always a being inside. There's always a, and all these different levels of this. There's always a being inside. And even when we were talking, I had meant to mention this, and we were talking about the codes in the atoms or just the codes around us or the codes within us.
Right,
That
right.
it's the same way that we as humans have discovered how to write codes and make video games and stuff like that. Like that is a pure example of as above so below. It's the same thing.
Oh,
um
absolutely. Yeah, 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 yes.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with the
um
codes with simulation. Yeah. Mhm.
okay, so what message do you want to share with all who view this video? Like what's the key message? And I mean, I kind of maybe mentioned this already, so if I did, then you don't have to answer it. But if there's like a positive message, set message, or something that you just want to share with everyone, what is it right now?
I mean, I would just say like, don't worry about anything that's happening, because maybe a lot of people are caught up in everything that's happening in the news and all that stuff. Say, don't
Yeah.
worry, it's all gonna collapse. It's all gonna come, it's all cleansing. It's like a cleansing time right now. And we're all gonna evolve as a collective, and that we're all heading to the utopia of that unity of compassion and love. And there's gonna be no more wars, no more poverty, none of this stuff. And just try to focus on your being, becoming a better person yourself. Like focus on mastering your lessons, and then just be aware that there's a lot more experiences to come. It's like once you master the lessons, it's like then that's when you start opening your eyes to our multidimensionality
Hmm.
and start seeing those other lifetimes. But that's not for everybody. Not everybody's there, but that's just for those that are ready to be start seeing those other multidimensionality. But overall, I would just say, don't worry about anything. It's all gonna be fine, and just focus
Good.
on trying to becoming a better human being and in your
Yes,
life
yes,
as a person, and enjoy every day in life, because every day is magical, and look at the positives of everything, and follow your dreams too. I think that's something that everybody's caught up in their jobs or whatever it is, and so it's like
yeah,
follow your dreams, whatever your dreams are, just follow them, because that's where happiness really lies, in your
yes,
dreams. So yeah,
yeah.
I would say that in general. I would say.
Perfect, perfection, absolute perfection. And so I'm going to start closing it off now, even though I can ask a
Okay,
million
perfect.
questions. But
Yeah, we
just
can do another show.
where can people find you? And then I want you to go into depth because like it's very important, and I want this if anyone who is watching, if you can help Raphael to bring this to an even bigger audience, to help with the documentaries, if this is like inspiring you, whether you're like a student or, you know, like, or somebody with tons of money to throw at this, like if you just want to be a part of creating this so that more people can understand who we really are, then I want you to communicate with him, connect with him, and help. Wait, go ahead. How can they
Yeah,
reach you?
thank you. No worries, thank you. Yeah, I have one of the websites with the projects that I want to create. It's called Supernova, like the explosion, and then Talks, kind of like TED Talks. And so super w you know www.supernovatalks.com, and that's where I have a lot of projects that I will love to download into this realm, which are like documentaries and series and um apps and man, I've so many things like like even like zoology. Zoology was like an old idea that I had of creating like an academic field study where eventually all universities you'll be able to take classes on astral projection 101 and NDE 101. So, that was one idea. And then I was thinking about like creating an Earth Bitcoin, which is like a currency that, if with acts of kindness, you can get paid with this kind of currency. And then all these ideas I'm creating with my girlfriend, Linda, she's from Sweden, and she's like coming up with most of the ideas actually. So it's like between both of us, we're putting our website. So yeah, I just we're like putting those ideas, and then anybody resonate with those ideas, yeah, we would love to hear from them, and just try to help with the ascension of Earth. And then my other website where I give like help, I try to help people like one-on-one coaching with if they need help with decoding their life lessons or learning more about higher realms. It's decodinglifelessons.com. That's the other website. So those are the two websites that I have.
Okay.
They can contact me.
Yes, yes. Perfect, perfect. So that's like life coaching to the next level, like really making sure that you kind of help them
Well, yeah, I mean, I could take
step
it
up their
simple,
game.
or we can go deeper. So
Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm going to start closing up here by just saying we thank you, Raphael, for your courage in sharing this experience at a time when the world is still sleeping, mostly sleeping, and don't quite understand yet, that we are so much more than this body and that the paranormal is really just super normal, you know. I surround you, dear brother, in divine love, light, and pray you are blessed for the rest of this, your earthly experience. And with that, I'm going to close up and just really thank you. Like, I'm feeling amazing. I can't wait to start editing this and getting this out there for everybody. And I really do hope, again, that if you feel connected to this, you're feeling some kind of resonance with what Raphael's doing, please support him. If I can also, like, if you're taking like donation, like money towards all these, what you're doing, I would love to share that as well at the end. So like, if you can give me a PayPal or something, I'll put that as well so that people can just send you money, because it takes time and energy to start doing the things that you're doing. And it,
yeah.
and
Oh, thank you.
if someone has more, then they should be helping. Because I mean, some people say, oh, all these NDEers, they have all these things for, you got to pay for this and that, whatever. But if they're, instead of doing a 9 to 5, putting their time towards helping us evolve, then they need to be paid for that to some extent, like so they can
Yeah,
live.
I know.
I
I
hope
don't
people
actually don't have the
understand
time
that.
right now. So yeah,
Yes. So let's, so if you can and you have more to give it to Raphael.
exactly.
And then if you don't, then, send your support, your help, your light.
Yeah, that's okay. As long as I'm happy with
Just
just
help.
helping you with my messages. But yeah, of course, at the end, if somehow we can all download more information and more, this project, it'll be
Yes.
amazing. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So we're closing on that note. I thank you again, Raphael. You're everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really thank you so much for interviewing and putting your heart and your work into doing this light work, because your job is amazing, for you to put it all together and to help interviewing people. And, for
Yes.
you're the one, like, you're the messenger, you're the one
Yes.
putting all the messages for everybody. So thank you. It's an honor really to
Thank you,
meet you.
thank you,
And,
thank you.
and yeah, let's make it happen. Let's make our projects together and help each other. And however the universe is
Definitely.
going to bring this. I
Definitely. I see us flying around in that group, looking at Earth like, let's go,
know,
Team
right?
Earth. Let's go,
I
Team
know, right?
Earth. All right. Thank you. Blessings, Raphael.
Okay, thank you so much. Likewise.